We're here to talk to you today about advocacy, 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 because you know how important it is for your voice to be heard so that the government can represent you and all the things that are important to you. We're going to meet with Hannah Satterwhite today, who's going to talk to us about our regional People First group. I'm Sharon Spurlock. I'm the Senior Director of Family Education at the St. Louis ARC and your regular host for our weekly Q&A. And Hannah, to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Satterwhite. I work with Sharon on the family supports team at the ARC, and I am an advocacy and individual navigator. So I do some family navigation and individual navigation, and I also bring self-advocates to represent the ARC at the state capitol and lead some self-advocacy groups in the area. So I'm really excited to talk about People First today.
Yeah, so this isn't the only People First group. I just think before we start, Hannah's going to show you some slides. And while she's pulling those up, I'll say that we already had an advocacy group at the ARC, but we were excited to be able to pull together different groups that could communicate with each other and also have a voice at the statewide People First meetings. So Hannah's going to explain that whole story now.
So I'll go into what People First is in general and also what specifically the St. Louis region People First is. So there are quite a few chapters of People First around the state. St. Louis region People First is a chapter that's been around for just a few years now. It's a local chapter of People First of Missouri, and there are some other chapters in the St. Louis region. The St. Charles People First chapter is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the state. It's been well established and run for several years. And they have really great meetings. So if you happen to be watching this and you live in St. Charles County, definitely take a look at those meetings. But there are also other local chapters, and there's always the possibility for a new chapter to be formed if the need is there. So if you live in a different county or a different area, or if there's not a People First group that meets your needs, you are able to start one if you would like. But our specific group meets every other month on Wednesday afternoons at the Maplewood Hub of the St. Louis ARC, and I'll go into more specific details on that soon. But I want to tell you a little bit about the statewide group. People First of Missouri is a self-advocacy organization that was formed by and is run by and for people with developmental disabilities in the state of Missouri. People First of Missouri's membership consists of local affiliated chapters, and it is a nonprofit organization that promotes equality for people with disabilities so they can live the lives they want in their communities. Meetings are open to anyone. You don't have to be participating with the ARC in any other way to join. We just host these meetings at the ARC. So there's more information later on about how to get involved if you would like to attend. But if you have a disability and you are an adult in this area and you can get to the meetings, we definitely welcome you to join. And we also welcome people who want to observe, but they might not be considered a member. So for instance, if you have a supporter or a friend, or even a legislator or anyone else that wants to come, a staff, etc., they're definitely welcome to sit in. If there's a vote that is only for members, those members will be adults with a disability. There's also some links here that I thought would be potentially helpful, especially if you are looking for a chapter in your area. If this is not the chapter for you, you know that this isn't close enough to you, or you're looking to see if there's one nearby. The website, MissouriPeopleFirst.org, is where to find a list of all of the chapters, and they update that annually. So that should be as up to date as possible. Like we said, there's a few chapters that are operating in this area. You can also contact this email here. We said UMKC kind of oversees the whole Missouri People First system. And they also have a YouTube channel, which is just kind of fun. If you want to check out some self-advocates from across the state talking about what they care about, there are several videos on there that might be of interest. And then these are some of People First of Missouri's core values. I won't read all of these out because it would take me a while, but these on the side here spell out people first. And I'll pick a few that I really like. I think that the first one, pride, all people are allowed to feel good about themselves and their abilities. I really love that one. People First members definitely talk about and exude disability pride. And I think that's really wonderful. It's not about saying what we can't do or what we're limited by necessarily, but how to live our best lives within the structures that we're living in, and how to make changes that are positive for people with disabilities. So I love that. And then I also really like inclusive communities. All people have the right to be a part of their communities. It's definitely a core value of this group to make sure people have access to whatever they want in their community, and have access to supports that they need, and also people and community members. Okay, so that brings me to specifics. We meet every other month from 4 to 6 p.m. So all of those dates on the left side of the screen are the remainder of our meetings for the rest of the year, 2025. So if you're watching this in 2025, please join us at these dates. And it's located at the Maplewood hub of St. Louis Arc. So it's not our main office on Warson. That's on Big Bend Boulevard. And the address is down here. You don't have to let me know that you're coming in advance, but it certainly helps us to, if for some reason we would have to cancel, it certainly helps if you can send me an email ahead of time so I know to expect you. But, for the most part, these will not change. We don't usually cancel unless there's like really severe weather or something. So we will be here at these dates, and we hope you join us. And then at the end here, I thought if there were any questions about advocacy, I would put some other helpful links and websites. Missouri Developmental Disabilities Council is a statewide organization that provides quite a bit of information about statewide policy and also resources for folks. UMKC IHD, Institute for Human Development, has a lot of great self-advocacy information, as well as family supports and other resources. And then the ARC as a whole really looks to national organizations. One is Anchor, and one is the ARC of the United States. And we really look to them for our legislative priorities, especially on the federal side. So definitely check out those two, either their websites or their social media. And then St. Louis Arc also has social media where we post advocacy related information. So we have Instagram and Facebook, and we also have an ARC Advocates email list. So for any of this information, if you really want more information on People First, or to be added to our email list for People First updates, for any other ways to get involved with St. Louis Arc and advocacy, you can email advocacy@slarc.org, and you'll probably get a response from me. I'm happy to answer any questions you have and get you involved in these opportunities.
First, I want to say thank you for bringing all this information to us. I think it's such a critical time for people to feel comfortable and confident that they have a right to speak up and that their voice is important. So every opportunity you have to learn more and do more, I think it's important to take that. One of the values I wanted to talk about was leadership, because as I have branched out in my career and worked more across the state and even the country, I've met people that are People First members, and I feel like they've really learned the different responsibilities that they have to be on committees, to be on boards of directors, to speak at conferences. And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about kind of how people can get prepared to build those leadership skills.
Absolutely. That's a great question. So, people first meetings are typically led by a president or a vice president, and they usually have a secretary and a treasurer as well. So, I would say if someone is just starting out and wanting to learn what it means to be a leader or what that might look like, joining a meeting and just observing how the president leads the meeting is a great way to see what that could look like. And every year there are elections held. So I know quite a few self advocates in the area have started out by attending people first meetings. Then maybe once they decide they want to dive into those leadership positions, they run for office. There is also statewide leadership. So if you run for office in your local chapter and you see what that's like and you get those opportunities to participate in leading a meeting, then you can actually join People First in Missouri a few times a year for steering committee meetings. Those are meetings where either virtually or in person, leadership from each of the local chapters come together and meet each other and participate in a larger statewide chapter meeting. So that's where a lot of folks choose to get involved on the state level as well. There is state level leadership. So people can run each year to be the Missouri state president of People First, vice president, etc. So I would say working your way up through that system is a great way to see how official meetings run, to organize people into groups, and to work on your speaking skills. If if public speaking makes you nervous, but you might be okay with trying on your local chapter level, then start there and build up that comfort level over time. But a lot of our statewide officers and also members that have been officers of their local chapters for a long time, I see a lot of them speaking at local conferences. I see a lot of them involved in large events like Disability Rights Legislative Day. A lot of them have been mental health champions, Missouri mental health champions. They've won awards. Just, seeing them over the years really succeeding, I think that it has taken a lot of folks longer than you would think to build up those confidence skills, but it definitely happens. So
I wanted to follow up, Hannah. We're talking about state leadership. Is People First a national organization?
I believe it is. I believe it is, but honestly, I haven't been involved on a national level so
It's
much.
funny, I haven't either, but I don't know if I feel like each group operates very independently, but I feel like there are definitely coalitions that meet when they're at a national conference or something.
Yeah, I know it's in several states, and you're right that each state kind of operates as their own, and then each local chapter writes their own bylaws and decides many of their own rules. There are very few guidelines that you have to follow, that the state sets, but it has structure, but it's also very much meant to be grassroots and self-advocate led. So
No one, I think, feels really comfortable doing this right away. And I like the idea that Hannah said, come to a meeting and observe. That's how we all learn whether we want to do something, is we get comfortable in that environment. And then maybe, take on a small role that feels like it's doable. So nobody has to jump in and take control right away. It's a path that you can take slowly. Hannah, I know you've got a unique path to People First. Can you tell us when you went to your first People First meeting?
yeah, I've been going to People First meetings since I was a baby or a toddler at least. I grew up in Columbia, and my dad is still the People First advisor for Boone County People First. So shout out to them. But yeah, I went to several People First events, picnics, Christmas parties, etc., and definitely grew up in the People First world. So I'm glad to keep it going here in St. Louis.
I love that. And thank you so much. Is there anything else about advocacy that you think it's important to talk about? We haven't really mentioned our self-advocate group, so I want to have one more moment where you can do a shout out about that.
Yeah. The St. Louis Self Advocates is a group that is also for adults with disabilities in our region, but we are open to others as well, from outside of our region because we are on Zoom. You can contact advocacy@slark.org to get all of that information. But that is a group of self advocates that meets weekly. So if you are someone who utilizes technology and would like to get involved and are okay with a virtual option, we meet every week and it's usually virtual. A few times a year, we do in-person events in St. Louis. So we'll do some fun events like a movie night. We're doing a zoo visit in April. But other than that, typically we're virtual on Zoom. And that group is a social group, but also learns about advocacy, policy, and legislation. And we plan events that are virtual as well, like a virtual legislator visit, which we're trying to plan for the spring. So we don't have a date set for that, but that's coming up soon. So yeah, it's a great group, especially for those of you who prefer virtual or, if that's accessible to you and you can join from wherever you are, we welcome you to join us.
Hannah, thanks for joining me today. I always love to talk about advocacy. And now's the time, folks. If you don't know your legislator, use that
Yep.
legislative link, look them up, let them get to know you.
Yep. Look up your legislator and send them an email or call their office, make your voice heard.